Welcome back to Nick Learns Thai. I'm Nick. This is going to be another Thai learning vlog video where I'm going to talk about the evolution of my understanding of tones. I think my tones are not too bad currently. I get understood most of the time, but it doesn't mean I can't improve. But I'd like to talk about sort of the different stages of my understanding over time as well. I'm just going to jump over into a share here. Okay, so what is this here? I guess this is partially just because I thought it would be fun, and partially because I want to talk about, the content of this video. So this is actually, a reaction within a reaction within a reaction for this video here, which just is kind of funny, riffing on this idea of reactions. So I do actually follow Stu J Raj here. He's kind of a language genius guy, and he's particularly good at Thai. Metatron, this guy in here, I sort of follow him a bit on YouTube. I don't know the person here, which is the original video person. I think her name's Jules, and she's talking about Chinese sort of pronunciation in here. But I just thought it'd be interesting to add another layer to this reaction kind of paradigm here. So I'm going to talk about just one particular part of this clip in a moment, and talk about in the context of tones. But that's kind of the next stage that I've just discovered when I watched this video. But let me go backwards to the earlier part. So open up this tab here. So this is how I was originally taught tones, and maybe a lot of people were as well, with these sorts of symbols. So mid-tone is just a line, low tone is this kind of downward sloping line. Then we've got the falling tone, which looks like this. And then we've got the high tone, which is an upward sloping line, if you're reading left to right, that is. And then you've got the rising tone, which is this one, which kind of goes down and up. And for the longest time, I can't remember how long, but I just thought that this was meant to be an exact representation of the pitch contour. And I just found it really difficult to pronounce with this sort of perfect contour like this. And that um, was a source of a lot of early frustration. And even when I started getting into Glossica and I was trying to practice pronunciation, I still had this kind of idea in mind. And it wasn't until later that I realized that this is just meant to be a symbol to represent what the tone is, and it's not meant to be the exact pitch contour that you're doing when you're doing pronunciation. So it wasn't until I can't remember. I may have sort of realized it was impossible, or just kind of given up on trying to do this exact representation, at some point. But then I think it was Cracking Thai Fundamentals, which is a Studio Raj product, that he kind of had a graph that looks something like this or this, where they talk about the actual sort of more natural pitch contours, which, as you can see, don't match directly onto those symbols I was showing you here. So the mid is, okay, it's pretty flat, but then it kind of trails off. You got the low, okay, maybe it goes down first, but it doesn't look just like a straight line down. Falling, it certainly doesn't start low, go high, then go low. It starts pretty high and then it goes low and high, and yeah, and rising again, it doesn't start low, then sorry, the rising doesn't start high, then go low, then go back up to the same level. It starts pretty low or mid and then it goes up. So it's quite different to what you might think it was if you were trying to use these symbols as like a perfect map. So that was kind of my first realization, and quite late, that about tones. I also discovered, this is fairly recently I've discovered this tool, but I think it's a great tool, and I wish I'd had it earlier. I did actually play with some other software earlier, which was similar to this, but it was a lot more clunky to use. You had to download it, and then you had to record a file, a sound file, and you had to upload the sound file into the software, and then you got your pitch contour thing like this in the end. And it was kind of a little bit too messing around. But actually, I did remember playing with that and getting, a native speaker friend to record their version of saying the word, comparing it to mine, comparing it to the pitch contour, and that was part of my realization that those symbols couldn't possibly match on to what a native speaker really says. So that was the beginning of realizing that, and much too late. So it's better to realize this earlier. But have a play with this tool if you want to practice your tones. I'll just kind of try and demonstrate it here. So hopefully the sound works all right. So you can play
หนา
the word or the pronunciation of the word
หนา
na, and then you can try to record your voice, and it'll map it onto this graph next to the native speaker. And I think it also tell you if it thinks it's right. Na. So how did that go? All right. It's showing it in green, which means the software thinks it's good. Okay, it's a little bit all over the place, but it's roughly right, I think. So we can go to the next one. Okay, try a falling tone.
หน้า
Nah. Okay, there's my version. I'll try one more. It's like common tone or mid tone.
ไร
Rai. Not sure if it caught all of that. Okay, actually it thinks it's a low tone. So maybe I did it too low, perhaps. Try again.
ไร
Rai. No, it still thinks it's too low. I'll have one more go. Rai. Okay. So maybe that's something you need to work on. Maybe too low. But anyway, this is a great tool for working on the pitch contours or different contours and working on tones. Now let's jump back over to that video. I want to jump into here to something that Studio Raj says directly, so hopefully this comes through all right.
Actually not.
Okay, what she's saying now, I want you to go to her clip and go back and replay this over and over again until it really sinks in, even if it means that you play it just before you go to sleep and then meditate.
Okay, that's not the one I wanted. I'm going to go back. This is the one I wanted.
Tones are not just pitch. And so if you're thinking of only the pitch contours, you're missing out all of this other stuff that could actually, if you did it properly, would get you the right pitch. Because pitch is just one factor of the tone. So he's got his tones on point if you were learning properly, but you can notice a very similar characteristic to his voice for each tone because he's only focusing on the pitch.
Why is that? It all comes down to three things.
Okay, so they go on talking about tones more broadly and how to get them right. But I just thought that one little piece there was quite interesting. So I've just talked about how my evolution of thinking from, but mostly focusing on the pitch contour. So from that symbol that I thought was the real, the symbol of the real pitch contour, to graduating beyond that, to finding a tool like that one there and being able to practice on that tool and seeing the pitch contour and similar tools. But then here we hear that actually the pitch contour isn't everything. There's other elements, and I can't remember if he said it just there, but basically he talks about it later in the clip about how sort of you use your mouth and how you pronounce and how you use your mouth as you're doing the tone, and that sort of is a big part of making that sound and making the correct tone. And they even say that even if you don't hear the pitch, you can still know what the tone is based on other cues in the pronunciation, which is really interesting. So that's not something that I've really even thought about before or tried to practice. So this is definitely something I'm going to have to look into. And it goes along with trying to improve my pronunciation in general. I think my pronunciation's pretty good. Maybe it's like 80%, 70%. I don't know. I get understood most of the time, but I would, it's always good to improve, always good to look for opportunities to improve. And I think this might be a key area where I could look to and find improvement. And that's like the way the mouth should be when you're doing those pronunciations. Not actually only of tones, but also of particular characters, consonants, vowels, etc. Just quickly as well, so where I found that graph with the different pitch contours, the ones that were different from those original symbols that I was looking at, I did get this Kraken Tie Fundamentals online course from Studio Raj, and he's actually sort of released it recently, so kind of updated a lot of stuff. But I thought it was a great course, and I wish I'd sort of got it when I was first starting. I think it would have been really helpful to kickstart my learning at the very beginning. When I finally got around to it, I still found value in it, but a lot of the stuff there I was sort of past already. But I recognize it would have been a great way to get started. So if you're also just getting started, beginner level, I think you could get a lot of value from this course. And like I said, he's just kind of re-released it, so I think he's updated a lot of stuff in there. And also, he's been pretty prolific on YouTube recently, and he's been talking a lot about these new tools that he's released. And I haven't really played with it much, but I've seen it in his videos being mentioned. So there's some stuff in here I think is going to be useful about how to pronounce things, how to arrange the mouth. He's got this cool like little animation here and kind of diagrams that show different elements of the mouth and how they should change as you pronounce. And this is just a free tool set. So this is definitely something I'm going to have to look into more closely, and perhaps it'll be an important part of learning those, how to improve those tones and pronunciation in general. So I think, yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to look at with this. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, bye.